two lines from the bottom of the page, Samar Zayin. The line begins with the word behelem. There is a contextual union that I want to end, a richer union that I want to add to this, that we discussed already. The principle that the Rebbe is explaining here is that when there is a descent of oil, whether it is the oil descending in Kelim, or the Svoras HaSeichel descending into midos, and then it finds its place in the new environment, Kelim or midos, in a very comfortable manner, where it actually fits in well, and they both have their share of contribution to this new situation. The oil is not completely negated, nor is the keli completely overrun. This is due to the fact that in the oil, in its original state, where it's pure oil, there's already inherent an element that relates it to keli. And coming back to discussing this Svoras, the Seichel, that Shmai V'Avtanin taught Shmihil and Shammai, even though Shmai V'Avtanin taught pure Seichel, not a Seichel question of should he be guilty or innocent, but on a much higher conceptual level. Inherent in there is also, that's a further level, a lower level, in the Seichel that translates in midos. So what I wanted to add is, how come there is that further inclusion in the Seichel? Seichel is Seichel. Seichel has nothing to do with midos. Seichel is not inherently midos in this Seichel. Why do midos venture out of Seichel sort of in kind of a natural fashion? When I say natural fashion, I mean to say this. Sometimes you take the Seichel and you can contemplate how should this be applied in this situation. That's a separate question. Well, here we're not talking about that. We're talking about that the Seichel itself settles in and presents itself in a midos manner.
We're looking at why does mind and real Seichel sort of almost naturally express itself or become an emotion?
Right.
Okay.
The explanation for this is as follows. As we already learned, that the original state is the Ratzon, the will. Ratzon is superior to Seichel and midos and to everything else. Ratzon is a powerful expression of the reality of nefesh. Of oil. Of etzem. Rather than oil, etzem. If we cannot explain Ratzon. We have to project in our own seichel, see the element of Ratzon. like we mentioned some time ago, if there is a discussion in a meeting of executives, should we do this? Should we go this way, or should we go this way? Which way should we lead the company at this point? And each one represents his own view and his own reasoning. Then, into this discussion enters the chairman of the board or the president of the company. And then the entire tone of the discussion changes. Up until that point, everything that was presented on the basis of some kind of a reasoning or an argument. No, this is going to be more successful, this is going to be more successful. Looking at it from a lower level. When the higher ups, people who are really on top and really in charge, when they come in and they join the discussion, the tone changes completely. Basically, the tone is, I want it this way. No, I prefer this. This statement, I prefer this, is not just a stubborn statement. It is representing a deeper and broader sense of what this company is about. And this is what he says, the company is this way. This is not based on an advantageousness of being in terms of profit. This is the kind of company I want. This Ratzon is representative of the personality and character of the leader. Ultimately, in the long run, it turns out to be a successful venture and so forth. But but it has, it carries with it a certain nuance, a certain spirit of a real person. Not just arguments pro and against, pro and con in terms of success, but just the personality itself. Ratzon is superior to Seichel. Seichel, we said, ultimately carries a final message of guilty or innocent. Ratzon, it speaks from a different perspective, a different level. Ratzon speaks, thank you, of reality itself. Ratzon speaks of reality itself. Reality itself does not, it comes down and expresses itself in Seichel, but it doesn't stop at Seichel. Reality goes from Seichel to midos to action to a final product. I think we can easily kind of project that, yes, indeed, for example, Ford built this company for a profit, but he built his company around cars because he wanted to produce cars. Cars are a representative of his personality. cars for the nation and so forth. This was his rich view, representing his deeper sense of what it stands for.
Okay, and we're looking about at Ratzon and how it precedes Seichel, because we're going to talk about how that becomes midos.
Right. So this Ratzon is superior to Seichel, superior to midos. This Ratzon encompasses the entire reality, all the way down to the practical thing. You know, somebody who needs a taxi will be able to have a taxi. Well, there's going to be a whole development along these lines. You know, something all the way further, much further down the line from the initial concept.
Mm-hmm.
An entire human spectrum, from the top all the way down, is contained in Ratzon. Ratzon is a representation of the truth of the human being.
Right.
Human being does not stop at Seichel, does not stop at midos.
Right.
It doesn't stop at all the way to the end of a full-fledged accomplishment. And then some. The Pasuk says, when Adam Rishon was created, Hashem said to him, to Adam and Chava, essentially, Prurvu, be fruitful and multiply. Umilo as others and fill the earth. Is that all?
Kipshua.
Kipshua. What Kipshua means? Subdue it, capture it.
Which we talked about meaning develop it, nurture it.
No.
No.
It means translate it in your personality. Humanize it.
Make it reflect your Ratzon.
Humanize it. The whole world. Kipshua means capture it. Don't let it be just a world. Make it human. Make it yours. This is the extent of human Ratzon.
And in that is already the answer why midos come from Seichel.
And that is the answer why midos and everything, Seichel
Right.
and midos and the full development of assembly line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is what the Rebbe is saying. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I just want to be sure to understand why in the Ratzon, why in the Seichel is contained midos.
Right.
The answer is the Seichel is not the origin. There is Ratzon behind the Seichel.
And, right, on account of that, so there's a full spectrum and it comes down to midos.
All midos
And action.
and further.
Yeah.
Not only action, but the accomplishment of the action.
Right. Earlier we said this
Kipshua means capture it. That's beyond the action.
beyond the action, meaning transform it into what it should be, how it could be.
Claim it. Claim ownership.
Okay. A moment ago we said not much can be said or understood about Ratzon. So is there any way to elaborate or understand how something so high, right, contains... I guess in our explanation, in our Mashalim, we have already the answer.
We have the answer, but there's no way to explain this in Seichel, because this is really a godly creation.
Right.
This is a godly spark.
Okay.
It's a godly reality that was put into the nefesh.
Right. We seem to have resolved the conflict or the difference between Or and Keli by referencing a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much we can kind of really say about how that higher level accomplishes it or what it is exactly, but it includes both of them,
Well, the thing is
them.
like this. What you were saying, how it accomplishes it, and this we can again.
No.
But what is quality? Define it. What is Ratzon?
Yeah.
That's the point.
Okay.
That we are not able to do. Its effect, yes, we can identify it in all kinds of different levels. But what does it stand for? How identify it by definition, define it, so to speak. What kind of koyach is this? What is the experience of Ratzon? Seichel has an experience. It's a process of thought. Midos have an experience. What is the experience of Ratzon? How does that surface? How does that express itself? It's a statement of reality, of the nefesh reality. Okay, let's continue. Well, our time is almost up. How do you like that? Anyway, I'm glad I
Well, this minyan does start a little later, right? And it's still before 6 o'clock, before 7.
They start at 7:30. No? When do they start?
Yeah, so we have a little more time than usual.
Right. What time do you start davening?
7:30.
7:30. Okay, we can learn a little bit. I still have to go to mikveh. Okay, excellent. Okay. And this is what the Rebbe says. In this waters, in the Seichel Harav, is already in a very subtle manner contained din of midos. Why? Because the Seichel Harav actually originates and higher than Seichel. Rabbi Kiva?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we have 3 lines from the bottom of the page. And at the end of that line, Ukmoy came. David, you with us?
I think I know where you are.
Okay.
I see the spot.
Okay. Ukmoy came. Ukmoy means likewise. Likewise to what? Likewise to what we said. That midos are in a very subtle manner contained in the Seichel, even though we can readily see that midos and Seichel are really in 2 different worlds. Midos essentially is guilty or innocent. You have this debt, you have to pay it, and you don't have to pay it. You should do this or you should not do this. Seichel is on a different level completely. Like we always point out, a dining room table in the middle of the dining room, it's a poor interpretation of its presence that this is in order to sit and eat.
So it's poor because it's so reductionist. It's so limited. It's such a limited
It's not.
comment.
It doesn't represent it.
No.
It's not a functional presence.
Mm.
It's a reality presence. It's a dignity presence. That's Seichel. Then come midos out of that. But essentially on the Seichel level, it is way above midos. When you have guests in your home and you invite them to sit at your table and give each one a place to sit, what is the background of your assignment of places? Here it is more comfortable to eat. or this is a more, so to speak, centrally located spot, or more noticeable, something of a different nature than the function of eating. That's seichel, which comes from Ratzon, which comes from the truth of nefesh, which is a godly gift. Okay, let's go on. Now, just as it is true in terms of the seichel and midos relationship, likewise, this is even more subtle. Likewise, be'oir ha-seichel, in the oir ha-seichel, shebo b'moyach ba'asoga kozu, oir ha-seichel that comes in the moyach, in the brain, ba'asoga kozu, in this kind of a comprehension, she'eino be'erech, which is not in proximity, the ha-seichel of the seichel shebenefes ha-maskeles, of the seichel that as it is contained in nefesh ha-maskeles. In the nefesh ha-maskeles, which means in the intelligent nefesh, the seichel there is what's called oir ha-seichel. Oir we've discussed, we've defined, we have, so to speak, given it some kind of explanation of what is oir. There is no tangibility to oir. Oir is the impact of an essence, of a truth. Seichel, nefesh ha-maskeles, it's a nefesh ha-maskeles, it's a nefesh, an intelligent nefesh, where the element of intelligence is part of its essence. Essence should I wait until you sit down? What's going on?
No, don't worry.
I wish you did sit down. You don't have to sit, but I can wait.
I'm just getting lost inside the sentence. I'm not sure if we're.
So tell me what.
But it does seem like we're in the middle of a sentence focusing on one word. I just got lost on what the. I'm sorry, I got lost in what we were saying here.
Okay, so tell me, because what the Rebbe is saying is, you just finish saying that the seichel contains inherently in a subtle way the midos.
Okay, we seem to be saying
one second. So the Rebbe says, similar relationship at a much higher level is in the seichel element, in seichel itself, in the world of seichel itself. There's a seichel as the seichel is in nefesh ha-maskeles, which is pure oir.
As if to say there's or and midos, there's or and keli within seichel itself.
Sort of, but it's not keli. It's oir and the mitzias of seichel.
Okay.
Because by the time the seichel is mislabish in the moyach, in the brain, it's not oir anymore. It's a tangible seichel.
What does that mean?
It means
Where is
Then
seichel?
I know what I'm talking about. Seichel, nefesh maskelis, there's nothing to talk about. It's reality itself.
Nefesh maskelis is as if to say united with Ratzon.
That's right.
Okay. Masha Enken, by the time it gets into
The
seichel per
moyach.
se, it's like already
The moyach,
materialized.
the brain itself relates to it. That means that it has a tangible means to affect the brain. The brain understands seichel.
Oh, and this, where you just said, I know what I'm talking about, is already as if to say within kalim, within
That's right.
midos.
It's not seichel, it's a lower level of seichel.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Thanks.
So just as we said that, okay, that's what we're talking about.
Got it.
Okay, please, if we have to interrupt like this, tell me, because
Yeah.
there's no point of me talking to an empty chair. So look inside. K'moi kein. Likewise means what? Just as we have shown the relationship between the seichel and midos, how the midos are inherently contained in the seichel. And this is why the seichel can ultimately result in midos. K'moi kein, likewise, be'oil ha-seichel. The oil ha-seichel. Shebo b'moyach. That ultimately comes into the brain.
Got it.
It initially is oil seichel. What is oil? Oil is oil. Brain and oil do not have compatibility.
Well, you may think, even though we're saying, where is seichel if not in the brain?
Excuse me?
Even though we always say, where is seichel if not within
That's
the brain?
on a functional level.
Okay.
It's much lower down. But oil seichel, as it emanates from the nefesh maskelis, it's oil seichel.
Yeah. שאין בערך השגה דהספר.
Oil. Let's give us our. We have to give us our illustration of oil. You own a home, and you come into the home. As soon as you enter the threshold of the home, your presence spreads throughout the home. The home may be 100 rooms, but you're present in every last room, in every place. How do we know that you're present there? If somebody would dare enter any one of these rooms, any less closet, basement, attic, without your permission, you throw them out. How are you present throughout this home? It's called oyer of the reality of the person. You can't even explain it. You can't. We spoke about it many times. Okay, this is it for this morning. To be continued. Mitzvah Shem.
To remain on the call, press 1. Disconnected.
Okay.
And at the end of the shir, we focused again on or, just to refresh what we're talking about when we say